My 27F husband, 28M, loves to remind me that he protected my reputation by marrying me whenever he wants his way. I come from a Muslim family, but I live in the West and my parents are liberal in comparison to my extended family. They've given me a lot of freedom, but there were still a few rules I knew I should never break. One of them was not getting pregnant before marriage. I never thought it would be the rule I broke because I was never really interested in dating or sex. I had always wanted to wait until marriage, which was partly due to my upbringing and partly because the idea of having lots of casual sex just never appealed to me. That was until I met the man who would later become my husband. Looking back, I behaved totally out of character from the way I normally am. I still have no idea why I did what I did, or what my thought process behind any of it was, but I very quickly threw out a lot of the values I held because I enjoyed the attention he was giving me. For 6 months, it was like I was completely intoxicated by him. Then I found out I was pregnant, and reality came crashing down very quickly. I was terrified to tell my family or my husband. My friend suggested I tell my husband first so I could come up with a game plan before I had to tell my family. I was a crying ugly mess when I finally did tell my husband. His family are also Muslim, but they make even my parents look super conservative and traditional by comparison, so he didn't seem to understand why I was so upset/scared. When I finally calmed down enough to explain how strict my extended family were, he told me he would speak to my parents for me and he would tell them we were going to get married before anyone found out I was pregnant. I didn't think he was serious because we barely knew each other. He had been very clear that he was only in it for the fun and he was someone who didn't intend to ever commit to one woman, and it wasn't like his family would hate him for having a baby, but he kept insisting that this would be the perfect solution and he wanted to fix things. We've been married for 2 years and things have been going much better than I could have ever hoped for. Our families get along great. My parents really like my husband, which I never thought would happen because my dad wanted to kill him when he first found out. Our son is happy and healthy and we get along for the most part. The only issue I have is that my husband likes everything his way and the fact that he has never been in a relationship, I use the term loosely, where he has had to compromise because they usually did whatever it took to keep him happy and interested, has given him a false sense of always being right. Whenever we have a disagreement, he loves to say that being married was his compromise and that he protected my reputation, so the least I could do is give him this one thing. It's never just the one thing though. In our entire marriage, he has only backed down 3 times and 2 of those times were when I was pregnant and only because his sister gave him trouble for stressing out the pregnant lady. The other time was when I started crying during an argument and he was too shocked by my tears and was trying to get me to stop by agreeing. Disagreements aren't the only time he brings up the fact that he saved my reputation. I'm starting to suspect he's getting off on the knowledge that despite having other offers, I had never behaved the way I did with him with anyone else. I've lost count of the number of times he's brought it up. I feel like I need to figure out a way to stick up for myself and not back down when he tries to use it to get his way, and ideally, a way to get him to stop bringing it up altogether. If anyone has any suggestions on how to achieve either of these, I would really appreciate it. Too long didn't read. I come from a Muslim family where having a baby out of wedlock is seen as shameful and the child is treated differently. So, when I found out I was pregnant, my now husband suggested we get married to fix things. Now, he loves reminding me he was doing me a favor by marrying me whenever we have a disagreement, and he also seems to be getting a kick out of knowing I wouldn't have done the things I did with him, with anyone else. We can get divorced if you don't want to be married. I'd be happy to find a husband that doesn't consider being with me to be such a sacrifice. Throw your choice, that you made on your own volition, in my face again and I'll divorce you whether you want to stay married or not. He's manipulating you. Stop letting him. I come from a Muslim family, so much of your background/family rules resonates with me. Your husband is being immature and toxic. That baby is not your fault. It took 2 people to get pregnant and the associated shame is not yours alone, because his reputation would have been equally ruined even if he doesn't think so. He thinks he would have been able to marry a Muslim girl from a good family with a child out of wedlock. Yeah, no parents would allow that for their daughter, so he needs to get off his high horse and acknowledge that he's just as saved by this marriage as you were. If I were you, I wouldn't budge next time he wants to have his way. I would take it further and express being okay with getting a divorce if that's what's needed. I would make it clear that you're better off without him if he keeps acting like this. Call his bluff and be strong. He's harping on the "I saved you" shtick, and you need to burst that bubble for him. From a public perception, the baby was born after you got married, and being divorced after having a child is halal AF, so what's he holding over your head really? He's the one who got to marry you, not the other way around, and you birthed his child, so he should show respect and appreciation for it, not bringing up old shamey baggage. You didn't do anything wrong by falling for a guy and getting pregnant. Other people in your circle might disagree, but at the end of the day it's your life and you're in charge of it. It's your right to explore and try new experiences and make mistakes and learn from them and grow stronger because of them. It's tough dealing with disapproving family, but unfortunately that's just part of being an adult woman, and you're strong enough to take it. He thinks he is a gift to you, that giving you himself to marry, that you should be grateful and meek, and uses his knowledge of you to control everything. Sounds like a horrible way to live. If you want to turn this around, you are going to have to face your fears. His family clearly don't care. But ask yourself what would happen if he did say to someone, "We got married because she got pregnant," as if it was all on you, of course, and nothing to do with him. Once you can handle the fear of your extended family being disappointed or disapproving, you can move forward and stop giving him the power over you. He's keeping that above your head. He doesn't see the relationship as equal and thinks he's the better person. Having sex and making a baby, it takes two to tango, so he was equally guilty as you. I would seriously talk about it and him keeping that above his head. What is he going to say when the child is old enough? "Daddy saved the day by marrying your mommy, otherwise she would be in trouble." This dynamic isn't healthy. Your husband considers you subservient to him. Maybe it's unconsciously or maybe it's intentional, but either way it is unhealthy. You need to advocate for your needs more in this relationship and break this toxic cycle. Successful relationships are partnership built on mutual trust and respect, and right now you're lacking the respect part. This is creating an unhealthy imbalance in the relationship dynamics. My 22F mom, 47F. Abandoned my father and me when I was 2 months old, but now after my father's death and 22 years later wants a relationship. Had to repost this cause it got deleted. I've, 22F, created this account to share this story. Maybe someone else can look at this situation from a more objective stance and maybe give me some advice. I'm really at a crossroads and have no idea what road to take. I don't even know how to begin or how to structure this story. I do apologize for any mistakes. English is not my first language. My father, 76M at the time of his death, married his first wife at a very young age. They had one son, my brother, now 58M. My father's family comes from old money, so after his parents' death when my brother was little, my dad inherited a sizable fortune. The wife died when my brother was 19 years old. Around 17 years after his first wife's death, my dad met my mom, 47F, and after a year of dating, they got married. At the time of their wedding, my dad was 53 and my mom was 24. I think it's important for the context of this story to specifically note their age difference, as it caused some resentment, particularly in my older brother who is 11 years older than my mother. I was born soon after their wedding, and when I was around 2 months old my mom essentially packed her bags and left my father and me. That was all I knew of this story until after my father died. Thereafter I was solely raised by my father and we've had a fantastic relationship. He was a great dad and tried his best to give me everything he could. One thing he refused throughout my childhood was talking about my mother in any way. He never bad-mouthed her, but he also never said anything substantial that would give me any clue about what kind of a person she was. My brother and I had a complicated relationship. He was always respectful and friendly towards me, but also distant. We never had a brotherly sisterly relationship, which in a way is expected since he is 36 years older than me. Through him, I also have 2 nephews and a niece, 29M, 27M, 24F, all of whom are older, and we've had more of a cousin type of relationship. My brother and my father had a very strained relationship. I later learned this was due to the resentment my brother held over our father for marrying my mother. As said before, I had no contact with my mother or any member of her family for my entire childhood. Besides my father, brother, and his family, the only other family was my aunt. In November 2019 my father was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. It was advanced and very aggressive. Although he went through extensive treatment, he died last January, which devastated me. We were extremely close and I still can't believe he is gone. He left some of his money to my aunt and my nephews and nieces, but most of it was split evenly between my brother and myself. After my dad's death, I was dealing with some anxiety. One of the fears I particularly harbored was the fear of being left alone, abandoned. I had my aunt, but she was also in poor health, and if anything happened to her, I was really afraid that I would be left alone. I didn't think my brother would be particularly inclined to upkeeping our relationship, but I was very wrong. My brother and his wife, 56F, stepped up and in a way assumed a sort of parental role. Sil has been very keen on including me in their family life and has been calling and visiting very often. I couldn't be more grateful, and we've established a close relationship. The core of my problem, however, appeared at my father's funeral back in January. My father had a lot of friends and what he called associates, so my brother decided to hold an open funeral so that everyone could come and say goodbye to my father. Well, my mother appeared with her entire family, and when I say her entire family, I mean it. I didn't recognize her. I've only seen some photos of her, but my brother's reaction soon made me realize it was her. I didn't recognize any of the other people that came with Amber, my mother's name, but was later told about them by my aunt. Amber brought her husband, children, her parents, siblings, and their families. Moreover, her husband's family also came. My brother was pissed and wanted to throw them out, but Sil convinced him otherwise. I have to say I didn't know how to react at that point. I think I glanced their way a couple of times. After the funeral was over, Mom came towards us with her husband and tried to give her condolences, but my brother told her to leave, that she was not welcome and do not come close to us ever again. I didn't speak with her or any member of her party. When she came over, I sort of partially hid behind my nephew. At one point I think she tried to say something to me, but my brother shut her down. He was pretty rude, but I think it was, in a way, understandable. I tried to ask my brother questions about Mom, but he refused to talk, so I convinced my aunt. Seeing my mother and her new children made me want to know why left me. I was half expecting that aunt would also be hating Mom, but she seemed convinced that Mom cared for my father when they first met, but that after they married realized the impact their age difference had on their married life. I learned that while Mom was pregnant with me, she met Mom's current husband, 52M, who was working close to my father. Mom's new husband was married at the time and had 3 children, but his wife was very sickly and died at one point during my mother's pregnancy. After I was born, my mom suffered postpartum depression and left with X when I was 2 months old. My brother hated my mother and believed she was a gold digger, but my aunt assured me that Mom never demanded or got any money after Dad and her divorced. Last aunt heard, my mom married her new husband soon after. She gave up all her parental rights after the divorce and also refused visitations. I asked aunt if Mom ever tried to initiate contact while I was growing up. She didn't, but her younger sister tried to see me twice, when I was 6 and 10, but my father refused. I have to say this hurt me a lot. It was one thing knowing that she left, but another to know that she left to be with another man and his children. I searched her on Facebook and saw that she had 3 children with Mom's husband and also considers his 3 children hers. In some posts they referred to her as a mom. I was pretty hurt, so I left it at that. In a way, I kind of forgot about it until March, when a girl with a familiar name followed me on Instagram. I recognized her name instantly as Mom's husband's daughter with his wife. I was confused. Why would she follow me? I did not follow her back, During the next couple of months I got followed on Instagram by other members of my mom's family, her children, nephews, and nieces, even her mother followed me. I never followed back nor did we ever strike a conversation. Some of them liked some of my pictures but never beyond that. I didn't tell anyone about this nor did I have any intention of initiating a conversation with any of them. A week ago I was followed by my mom. It was quite shocking seeing the notification and I did not know what to think. In a way, it felt intrusive. I should have put my profile on private. That very same day she sent me a message. It was a very long message and after reading it I was very conflicted. In the message, she introduces herself, expresses how hard it is for her to write this message. She in a way expresses regret for leaving me, doesn't say why, and expresses her wish of meeting me in person to talk and get to know me. I did not respond. It's been a week since I read it, but simply can't bring myself to respond. In a way, I don't know what to say. On one hand, I've always wanted to know my mom, but that was before learning why she left or rather how she left. But then again I feel like meeting her would be a betrayal to my father. I truly believe he started hating her after she left. I also feel like meeting her would be a betrayal to my brother, who has become my biggest support system in the last year and has truly taken care of me. He detests her and I know he would not be okay with me meeting her. I also ask myself why now? The only thing that changed is that my father is no longer around. Would my mom contact me if my father was still alive? Would she contact me at all? I have no idea what to do or how to respond or whether to respond at all. I would really appreciate any advice. My 28 meters fiance 26F told me that my parents are saying incredibly racist things to her when I am not around because they don't want black grandchildren. Hello everyone. I am writing this to figure out what to do or who to believe in this situation. Let me start out by saying that I am white and my lovely fiancée is a black woman. We have an amazing relationship and I don't want any other woman in my life. She is also the only black woman I have ever dated. My parents have always been supportive of me and I have an incredibly strong family relationship with them and my siblings, or at least I thought. When I was growing up in the Midwest, there weren't really black people around and the topic of racism never came up really. But I never suspected that my lovely outgoing and polite parents would be racist because they even donated money to an orphanage in Africa for like 20 years now through their church. My parents met my fiancé a year ago, but did not take it too seriously because I had a lot of girlfriends in the past and they probably just thought it was another girlfriend. Well, last weekend I announced to them that my girlfriend was now my fiancé on a family Zoom meeting. My parents looked a little surprised, because I did not discuss it with them before, but were ultimately congratulating me. We wanted to have a dinner with them in person to sort of let them get to know their future daughter-in-law and everything blew up. My mom forgot something for the dinner and my dad and I went to the store to get it. My fiancée texted me about 10 minutes in asking me to come back right away because she needed me and my dad and I turned around. When I got back she was sitting in my car, I still had the keys, and she was crying asking me to take her to our house. Of course I drove her home and told my parents I was sorry and my fiancé told me what my mom had said to her. Essentially my fiancé told me that my mom said she was not supportive of us because she didn't want black grandchildren. A number of other things that she was surprised my fiancé married up, even though I think my fiancé is better looking than me, but I am a bit more successful financially. Well, I confronted my mom and asked what she said and my mom said that she said nothing even close to that and that the only thing she said was that she was curious what country my wife was ethnically from and that my fiancé mistook it. Well, I asked my fiancé more probing questions, but she is adamant that my mom explicitly said these things. I've never known either of them to be liars, but the two people I trust most in this world are giving me completely conflicting stories. I want to side with my wife, but what if she is having some mental episode or something? Is it a possibility that no one is lying here? I need some fucking help, tired face. Edit, it could also be a mental episode with my mom, maybe, but neither have mental issues, but they can pop up in people's 20s like my uncle. So I just said my fiancé might have had a mental episode, sorry for the confusion.